I've been preaching. I'm sure you know.
Yeah, of
but
course.
like on my show.
That's why I'm here.
You know, I mean, Kid Rock was here a couple of weeks ago, and he said, I want you to meet Trump. He said, I'm going to take you to the White House. So now we're going to do that.
I think that's
and like
a good
there will be
conversation.
lots of people on the left who will be like, how dare you talk to this man? It's like,
Bill Maher had Andrew Schulz on this podcast where he reveals he will be talking to Donald Trump. No, not Andrew. Bill Maher is going to be talking to Donald Trump. Yes, TDS himself, Bill Maher, will be talking to Donald Trump. These two talk about way more issues. Let's see what they have to say.
lady, and like it said, like the most benign thing, and of course it's in the mouth of a character. She's just trying to say that, you know, how are you going to show someone is an asshole unless they act like an asshole?
Okay.
And then they go after her, and she, of course, a fucking apology, and you know they took it out of the book. I think they canceled her book contract, and I just wanted to say, I thought we were done with this shit.
Yeah.
But we're never going to be done with that shit completely.
Not completely, especially as long as like people are afraid. Oh.
But I thought when I saw the Tom Brady roast, that was a marker in the sand, and you know, like all praise to Kevin Hart for like pulling that up, because like I don't think a white guy could have done it, pulled it off.
He set a tone, and he said it was like okay to make fun of him.
Well, and also to say things I haven't heard people say. Words on TV. What? Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you could say any bad word, but but like, you know, I mean, I'm on CNN now.
Yeah.
And they don't, when they said, can we put you on CNN?
They're actually doing something interesting with that Scott Jennings guy.
I call him Lonely Scott, because it's usually like 4 people.
Trying to gang up on him.
Well, it's Lonely Scott.
But they put a guy who seems to be able to like, I guess, argue from the conservative side on the show. And they let him cook, you know. And they used to put like a dumb Scott.
Oh, Scott, of course.
Yeah,
well, you got it. Well, look, I love CNN. I'm thrilled to be. I find it such an honor.
Yeah, I've been thinking of covering some Scott Jennings because, I've been hearing some rumblings about the dude.
Well, that they wanted me on CNN as well as HBO. I mean, HBO I've been with forever, and I get that.
Why, you thought you were a pariah?
Well, I'm just CNN is like a straight up news organization. So to put me on there without censoring.
Yeah.
I give them all the props in the world, but you know,
CNN's being really edgy by having Bill Maher on their channel. They're a straight up news organization.
Are trying to recover something that was almost impossible to maintain in the era of Trump, which is how do you like just say it as it is, which is what they always did. There was people on the left, people on the right, Fox, MSNBC, we get it.
Yeah.
CNN was down the middle. Yeah. But you know, when the president does lie, you have to say he's a liar.
Yeah.
And then you look like you're on the left.
Yeah.
And they went too far with that. And now they're trying to correct that and get back to like just the place where a regular person says, can I just get...
Like, just tell me what's going on. Yeah, you did...
Well, it's not just that they called Trump a liar. It's that they would hardly ever call Biden a liar or any of the Democrat people a liar. So it's not just that they went after politicians, it's that they went after the Republican politicians and they hardly ever went after the Democrat politicians. That is why people stopped trusting CNN, and that's why they appeared as a left-wing propagandist channel, because that's what they are.
You did something like during COVID that actually was like incredibly inspirational to us.
Oh, thank you.
And it was the piece about what was it? The Chinese flu. Do you remember that?
Of course. It was like, I think one of our first ones that we did. Like every what do you call it? Disease has been named after a place.
Phenomenal. And it was just like common sense logic. It's so funny, like to even hear that term common sense being used by the right now. They're going
exactly. They co-opted it.
Yeah, exactly. So, but you put out this piece, and this is how I knew that it really was impactful. I got sent the piece by 4 different generations of people.
Wow.
It was my wife's parents. It was my friends. It was like kids around like younger, that somebody works for me who's like 20 or something like that. And then it was Yeah, maybe something like that. And I was like, oh, okay, so this is cutting deep. People need some sort of, I'm going to put truth under quotes.
Yeah.
But we're living in a little bit of a fantasy land and everybody's terrified to say something, and the piece cut through. And yeah, it was super inspirational. Then we started doing these pieces, and I think, yeah, I don't know if that's possible.
So you call them your wife's parents. You don't say my in-laws?
So isn't that weird, my in-laws?
I don't know. I'm not trying to be your shrink. I'm just saying, like, why would you avoid that term?
I don't know, my wife's parents, you know? They're not my parents.
I know. I'm just trying to start trouble. How long have you been? How long have you been? Are you expecting a flood?
Bro, I keep dripping everything all over the floor.
No, I mean your pants. How much would it cost just to get that extra?
To have a little bit more pants?
Just to get that extra.
Am I getting style tips from you? You're wearing a fucking baggy turtleneck.
You're doing so well. Why would you not?
You know, between these two, I was not expecting Bill Maher to be the roaster of Andrew Schulz. But I gotta admit, that was funny. Expecting a flood.
Knee-jerk reaction is how I am emotionally. And like, once I started understanding that, you'd hear all these like dweebs like Ben Shapiro, they're like facts don't care about your feelings. It's like, it's the exact opposite, right? It's like the feelings don't care about your facts. Like, you have to meet people where they feel things. If you're not meeting people where they feel things, you're going to completely miss them, or you're going to be stuck in this little ideological bubble where you're constantly having to appease whatever they feel, and you can't like actually create anything authentically.
I think that's mostly right. That people want to believe this thing for whatever actual reasons, feeling reasons, emotional reasons, their background, their family, their upbringing, whatever. And then they will find, especially if they have a brilliant mind like Ben does. I'm so cognizant of this all the time. I may be guilty of that myself, but I try to be the least guilty of that. That is exactly what I'm trying to. I'll give you a great example.
Where they feel things. If you're not meeting people where they feel things, you're going to completely miss them, or you're going to be stuck in this little ideological bubble where you're constantly having to appease whatever they feel, and you can't like actually create anything authentically.
I think that's mostly right. That people want to believe this thing for whatever actual reasons, feeling reasons, emotional reasons, their background, their family, their upbringing, whatever. And then they will find, especially if they have a brilliant mind like Ben does.
Yeah, he's clearly a very smart guy.
So they will find the reasoning to go back, but it comes from the feeling. I think you're right.
It starts at the feeling.
I'm so cognizant of this all the time. I may be guilty of that myself, but I try to be the least guilty of that. That is exactly what I'm trying to. I'll give you a great example. I mean, nobody on the left has been a bigger supporter of Israel than me.
Right.
And believe me, they know that in Israel, and I appreciate that. And I wish I could come and visit them as they keep asking me, but that's just I'm almost 70. I'm not going overseas anymore.
Israel is begging Bill Maher to go visit them? What the heck is he talking about? Who from Israel is inviting him to go over there and for what?
But there's somebody who the Trump administration just is now.
That's the reason.
That's the reason.
I was waiting for.
No, that is the reason.
I was waiting for there's a war happening.
Oh no.
And you're simply just I'm not traveling.
No, it has nothing to do with the war and everything to do with my urinary tract. Okay, so.
Israel, I want you all to know that he has a gig in Minnesota in a couple weeks.
No, I stopped doing that too.
Really?
Yeah, I quit at the end of last year.
Okay, go.
So that's so there's the Trump administration's right now deporting this guy who's I'd just say a Palestinian rabble rouser, Columbia University, exactly who you
Khalil something?
Yes, Khalil something, and he's right on the edge of like inciting terrorism. But no, okay, if I was just going by emotions. Yes, I think I love it that Trump is throwing this dirtbag out of the country. I will defend him to the death because I'm a free speech guy. You got to be consistent. If I'm always on the right for what they're doing against free speech, which I am, and way always on the left. I mean, you said woke. I don't want to talk about woke. I'm always fucking with the woke. The woke hate me more than anybody for good reason. Because when I stick the knife into them when they deserve it, it goes right to the bone, which it should, because they don't believe in it either. So here's a case where, yes, emotionally, because I'm a supporter of Israel, I would like to see this guy out of the country. No, you can't just throw people out because you don't like their speech.
Especially if you give them or you grant them some form of, I don't know if he had a citizenship, maybe a visa or something like that, but you're essentially giving this
green card.
He has a green card. So if he has a green card, you're giving them the opportunities to be an American, exist as an American for this amount of years.
But if you have the green card, you do have the same rights as an American citizen.
That's what I'm saying.
You're right. Okay.
So we have to give that person those rights.
You have to.
As a
Yeah, here's the thing though. Yeah, he has a green card, but he's not it's not unrevocable. Okay, you have that green card and it's good and you're good to go as long as you keep out of trouble and as long as you don't break any certain laws and stuff like that. Now, people are making this like a free speech issue and stuff. Here's the thing though, like imagine if I were an American, right? And I went to some other country and I was holding protests over there, which by the way, I understand this gentleman right here hasn't caused violence himself, like he hasn't done anything. But imagine if I went over there, right, and I did the exact same thing as this guy, and I was agitating people over there on behalf of my home country, America. If I was agitating people over there and causing people to act unhinged over there on behalf of America, and then they wanted to deport me back to over here, I wonder how these people who are defending this dude over here would feel about that. Now, listen, I haven't exactly taken a strong stance on that whole thing. Yeah, on the surface, this does sound like, oh, they're just censoring him for free speech. It's like, no, there's a little bit more to it than that. Oh, they're taking away his green card for free speech. And it's like, well, no, he might have violated some things, but we're not exactly clear what the charges are. As far as I know, like the last time I checked, like the charges are still unclear. So none of us could really give an opinion either way, whether or not this is right or this is wrong, because there's no official charges to look at.
As that is.
As annoying as it is.
You probably should have looked into his resume before you gave him the green card.
Because that's always and it's very hard to, I would say not more than 20% of the people in this country can you get on that opinion. Everybody else is just always going to go right to defending the speech of the people they like.
Yes, this is what we constantly do. We're hypocrites, but like
such hypocrites.
But this is the thing, we have to this is where it gets frustrating, these arguments, is like, if we know we're hypocrites, we can't cry about it. We have to meet people where they are.
Correct.
Right? So like, I mean, I'm sure you've seen on Twitter, like everybody's talking about, Israel, and like it seems like there's waning support in America for Israel.
Oh, absolutely.
So here's an example which you hear people say all the time. Like obviously the politicians have no clue how to communicate, most of them, and they're just like, well, this is our closest ally, and then you get asked why, and they go, oh, they don't know, because they're just being told that they're the closest ally.
Well, closest ally in the Middle East.
Regardless of what it is. It's like, I think
that's very important. They're the closest ally in the Middle East because they're the only country in the entire Middle East that anyone in this country, these fucking hypocrites, would even survive for a week in. You wouldn't want to live.
I don't know if that's true anymore. Like the UAE, I've been to Abu Dhabi.
The UAE is not the Muslim world. If you're talking about
But they're
Dubai,
in the Middle East. That's what you're talking about.
Okay, but you're talking about a tiny, tiny percentage of what typical life is like in 60 Muslim countries. You're talking about a little enclave that they carved out so Westerners could come and spend their money.
Right.
We're talking about far less than 1% of the way life is like. You would not want to live even in a moderate country like Jordan. And your wife certainly wouldn't enjoy living there.
Yeah.
Okay?
You're making logical points.
Well, these are factual points.
Yeah, sure, they're factual.
They are.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. It's like, I gave you another option that is true.
Well, but it's
I think, matter of fact, I would even argue that life is more relatable to the average American in the UAE or in Dubai than it is in...
Again, but it's a disingenuous...
Isn't Dubai like a tourist attraction, though? Like, isn't that made for people to go over there? I mean, I'm not like an expert in all this. Like, every time I hear about people going to Dubai, they're like rich people. I mean, okay.
Argument.
Why? Is it disingenuous?
Because I just told you.
You said you can't live there, and I was like, here's another place.
Because it's not typical. I said the entire Middle East. So if so look, here.
Okay.
Here's the thing. Here.
All right.
If I say you have to move somewhere in America, and I'm going to throw a dart at a map with a blindfold on, and Could you survive anywhere else in America where you absolutely could? You could live in Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
You could live anywhere in America.
Yeah.
If I throw a dart at a map
Yeah.
of the entire, all 60 Muslim majority countries, will you say you'll live there?
I could survive in every single one of them.
You couldn't.
How no?
What?
How could I not? I'm not a gay guy. I'm not, I could live in any single one of them.
You're in Kabul, your wife would have to wear a head-to-toe burqa every...
That's on her.
Okay.
I think Andrew is actually making Bill's point. Like, yeah, Bill's saying that, yeah, they're not exactly great places to live. And of course, Andrew Schulz, he's a straight man, he's a straight dude. So yeah, of course for him, it's going to be good. But for...
Okay.
You're talking about me surviving. You're like, I could live very comfortably in every single country. Like, again, let's not move the goalposts. You're asking if I could live comfortably.
You could live with yourself knowing that that's how women are treated in your world.
I hate this moral argument. Like, we give a fuck about women around the world. Like, no, but this is like...
Yeah, you said you'd be happy.
This is such a bullshit argument.
This is such a bullshit argument.
No, I didn't say happy. I said I could live. You keep moving the goalposts.
Okay, cool. I'm sorry.
Let's stay on what you say.
I
could live easily in every single one of the countries outside of the wars that are existing. But you're saying in peacetime?
Easily?
Easily. You live easily.
You could easily live in Kabul, Afghanistan.
Is there war happening? Is the Taliban doing their thing?
No war. No war. So war's over.
War's over? I could kick it in Kabul for a month easy. Enjoying life. Now, am I doing stand-up every night? No. But could I take a little vacation?
I don't know if you're kidding with me.
I'm just telling you, I think that...
I'll give you two options. Either you're kidding or this is stupid.
Well, that's...
Listen, I hate to agree with Bill here, but he's kind of right. Because the thing is, like, Andrew doesn't even know, like, he's defending, like, he's proving Bill's point. Like, Bill's saying, like, would you want to live in these countries? You know, and he's talking about, well, I could vacation there. Me, I could go stay there for a month. Yeah. My wife could stay at home. I could stay over there on vacation for a month. Oh, bada bing, bada boom. I don't know why he turned into Andrew Dice Clay. But yeah, but in general, that's what Bill's saying. Like, who wants to live in those countries? By the way, I wouldn't want to live in Israel either. But if I had to choose a country to live in over there and there's no war, yeah, probably Israel. Probably the safest bet.
Pretentious ass shit.
It's not pretentious.
You're doing the thing that
it's not pretentious.
You are doing the
that
thing
you could live in Kabul and be happy, or get by, or you could be no big deal.
You're doing this thing that gets.
It's not virtue signaling to say.
I didn't say virtue signaling, but that is, if you don't agree with me, you're dumb. Is why Trump is elected, and this is what Democrats do.
Yeah, but sometimes dumb is dumb.
Yeah, but people are dumb, so deal with that shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, stop acting like everybody's smart. Like, this is the problem, is like, you have all these people that go to Ivy League schools and they're like, we know better than everybody else and we'll just tell you what to do and you guys are all stupid and I know you feel like you want this, but you don't really want this. And if you disagree with me, you're an idiot. Then all of a sudden they go, you know what? Fuck you guys. I'm voting for that one. It's very simple.
Yeah, that's true too.
So we can't speak down to people if we know that they're going to react emotionally. I guess what I'm trying to say is, even with the like, for example, the Israel conversation, right? So if I know people are reacting emotionally to this, right? Who is the burden on, if we have this deep connection with Israel, which I believe we do, right? I think the burden is on Israel to prove to the American people, who definitely they rely on for support in this conflict. I think that the burden is on them to communicate to the American people why it's advantageous to America to continue to support them. Like, and if they can't communicate a reason, you can't be upset at the American people for being confused about it. We have that same energy towards Ukraine. We go, wait a minute, they're getting how many $1 billion? Okay, over here, if eggs were cheap, I don't care about where you throw the money. But once eggs get expensive, I start going, where's the money going? $200 million going over there? So when economic times are very difficult here in America, or any country in the world, there's going to be some questions asked about where this money is going.
As there should be.
As they should be. I think it's a very normal thing. And unfortunately for Jews, when economic times turn shitty in countries, people start looking and they go, I think it might be their fault.
But why is that throughout history?
Because there's an ambient energy towards Jews This is just my opinion, but
Yeah, but
ambient
that's
energy
so
towards
well
Jews.
put. What
it
a great
is-
phrase, an ambient energy. You're so right.
Because it's not a
Yes.
bright light bulb.
Right.
It's a small one. And
Yes.
and it comes from the fact that like most people don't know Jews. They've never met a Jew. They have no fucking clue. They think Jews are like Jerry Seinfeld. They have no clue that there's Sephardic Jews. They have no clue that there's these African Jews. Like,
Try
they have
being
no
one in
fucking clue.
Kabul, Afghanistan.
It probably.
We had no ideas there were Jews living in the sewers underneath New York for a long time.
So like they just don't understand what it is, right? They've never met one.
Right.
They only know the stereotypes. And I think they kind of almost like lock up Jews into the similar ilk as like the Rockefellers or the Vanderbilts. They think they're these elitist people. I don't think Jews even realize that. Because I think Jews are, not all Jews are going, yeah, we're rich and we have all this money. They're just going, I think a lot of Jews in the Northeast are looking at the Rockefellers and the Vanderbilts going, that's some pretty cool shit. I mean, Ralph Lauren definitely was like, hey, that WASP stuff, that's pretty cool. I want to do that.
Right.
Right? There's like an envy of the WASPs in the Northeast from the Jews, I feel like almost. I mean, I feel like they admire it. Anyway, the average person is looking at them as like these elites that they can't touch. And I think that there's like religious teachings that see like this separatism. It's like they're not trying to proselytize. Why don't they care if I go to heaven? Why? Like my whole life is about trying to get as many people to go to heaven as I possibly can, but like they don't care. Like what? I think it's just hard for them to get. And this ambient light that has this like kind of like these like negative stereotypes they own or control. And when the economy's good, I don't give a fuck. I don't care if you're sending US aid to do tranny plays in fucking Pakistan. I don't care. But the second I can't afford eggs, I go, no more tranny plays. And why does that group of people seem to have a lot of power?
Right.
And that light that's ambient gets bright.
That's not wrong. And you're right. I shouldn't say stupid.
Thanks, bro.
You know, I mean, you're right. I get excited sometimes and I blame the pot. But you're right. I can think it.
Yeah, you don't say
I'm
it.
still thinking. But
No, just Andrew Schulz is just a regular guy. Sometimes he gets things right, sometimes he gets things wrong. I don't think he's too far off actually, because I don't care about Jewish people one way or the other. But that explanation right there, it you know, now that I think about it, it makes a lot of sense. Maybe that is what's going on.
I tell
you
this,
shouldn't say, no, you're right. I shouldn't say it.
I
You're
say
right.
this all the time, like
But you wouldn't survive in Kabul. Anyway.
but I say this all the time to people, like when we get into these arguments, like I don't even want to talk, but like the trans shit is like a perfect example. Like I was talking to this journalist, and you know, I was like, "What do you think we disagree on?" And he goes, well, you know, some of the trans stuff or whatever. I'm like, "Well, what about?" And he's like, well, you know, the trans women in sports. And I was like, "Well, what do you think about the trans women in sports?" He's like, "Honestly, I think it's a red herring that the right uses." And I go, "You didn't answer my question."
Right.
And he goes, "Well, I mean, you know, I just feel like it's not really a talking point that matters that much." And it's like, I said this, I go, "Listen, if I say something that bothers my wife, I don't explain to her why she shouldn't be bothered."
Smart.
That I've done that for years, and it drives her fucking crazy.
You do. I've learned that about women too.
We learned that the hard way.
We learn it the hard way.
What we do is we go, "Okay, I'm sorry that I made you feel that way."
Right.
We meet them where they're feeling. And I feel like so much in the discourse, it's like explaining with facts why the other person is wrong instead of understanding what they're experiencing and just feeling.
You know, I mean, this honestly is what I've been preaching. I'm sure you know.
Yeah, of
but
course.
like on my show.
That's why I'm here.
You know, I mean, Kid Rock was here a couple of weeks ago and he said, "I want you to meet Trump." He said, "I'm going to take you to the White House." So now we're going to do that.
I think that's
and like
a good
there will be
conversation.
lots of people on the left who will be like, "How dare you talk to this man?" It's like, fuck you. You know, I'm not playing this game that you mean girls play.
Yes.
Where like, oh, you know what? You can't sit at my lunch table because I'm just not talking to you. Not talking to you, you lost the election. Who the fuck do you think you have to talk to? You know, it's one thing if you win it. It's another thing if you lose it.
You got to start talking to people.
Have to talk. And I see Gavin Newsom is doing this now. He's changed his tune. He's got a podcast, and the first guest was Charlie Kirk.
I thought that was,
you know,
I thought that was brilliant.
He mentioned me. He said, like, I take I'm noticing what Bill does, talks to both sides, like is left-leaning, but not afraid to criticize the people on his team. Like, we got to get more of this going.
They always
this has to become the center.
Yeah, Gavin Newsom's a snake, though. Gavin Newsom is a snake, though. He's just doing this to set up for a presidential run. That's all he's doing this for. He's doing this so he could come off as like, moderate and not so extreme left. Like it's all it is. It's just all for optics. And it backfires because he gets shown to be a liar. You had Charlie Kirk on there. They brought up the Latinx thing. Gavin Newsom's like, by the way, there was no one in my office that uses Latinx. No one in my office uses Latinx. I never use it. No, I've never used Latinx. And then someone created like a little highlight reel of Gavin Newsom using Latinx. And it's like, he's a freaking liar. It ends up backfiring on him. Yeah, as far as like meeting people, some people, though, the thing is with the left is that they have become the party of nothing but emotion. The Democrats manipulate their fan base with emotions. Look, you need to feel this way because of emotions. You need to vote against Trump. Why? Because of emotions. Trump is evil. Trump is bad. Trump's a threat to our democracy. Trump hates gay people. Trump hates black people. Trump hates trans people. Trump hates Islam. Trump hates all these things. And therefore, you now must vote against him. And that's why you have all these unhinged leftists doing unhinged things. Because they have been ruled by their emotions, because they have been manipulated emotionally by the Democrat Party. So yes, I do think the reason why we won the election is because of all the work that all these influencers and all these talking heads and have been doing, putting out facts out there. We need facts. We can't just reason with people's emotions. Like, yes, I know emotion, there's no logic and reasoning, but we need to use logic and reasoning to get through their emotional barrier in order to deprogram them, because they have been manipulated emotionally by the left-wing Democrat Party.
This has to become a real center. Right now, it's a few lonely islands that need to become a bigger fucking sandbar.
Yeah, no, for real, you're right. Like it needs to be normalized, and I think that
yes,
I think we're so. I think that Americans, we like bravery. We have very high risk tolerance, meaning like we take risk. Like I think it's kind of like in our DNA to take risk. Like all of our family, whoever came here from your family years ago, they left their entire family and they just moved here. So we just have the DNA of crazy people, really, that are like willing to risk it all, right? So when we see people that are afraid of having conversations, I think there's like almost like a primal instinctual reaction to it.
Yeah, it's not American.
It's un-American. And I think that was, I don't want to politicize this shit, but like I think that was a little bit of the concern with Kamala on the campaign trail. It looked like Trump was willing to talk to whoever.
He was.
Like his camp, when we spoke to him, they didn't give us any notes.
He's going to talk to me. Okay.
Do you know, and think about all this shit.
Who's been meaner than me?
I mean, only J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance is the only one who said meaner shit about Trump than you.
Yeah. Well, lots of people have. But
course, yes.
I mean, and he said, I have 5 pages of things. I asked my staff once, and I guess it's 6 now because it's been a while. Like, just write down all the things he said in tweets and at rallies. It's 5 pages long. Crazy, low energy, ratings disaster. Every bad thing that he just pulls out of his ass. But I don't care, and he doesn't care.
He doesn't care either.
He doesn't care.
And you don't give a
It's all performative. Like, not on, I mean, look.
No, you guys might feel it, but it wouldn't stop you guys from having a discussion with other, because you're not pussies.
We're not pussies.
It's very simple. It's like, are you a pussy or are you not?
And I learned that once. I had my longest relationship way back in the early 90s, and her father was military.
Yeah.
And he and I did not see eye to eye politically, but he liked me because I wasn't a pussy. That's my model for meeting Trump. It's like, be respectful, which he deserves. He won not one, but twice. Like, funny, my girl said to me, "What are you going to wear?" I said, "I'm not going to dress like Zelensky."
Not a fucking Lululemon outfit.
It's not going to be a black T-shirt.
Zelensky pulled up looking like a yoga instructor.
Not going to be a black T-shirt, man. Yeah. I am wearing a suit and tie.
Absolutely.
Jordan Peterson gave me a suit. He sat here and he said, "I want you to have a suit." And Jordan, I don't like suits. I'm going to send you a suit. Yeah. I'm going to wear that suit.
Yep, done.
The Jordan Peterson approved suit.
A suit that I want you to wear. And then after that, I'm going to have you clean your room. I have you clean up this whole studio. But in all seriousness, though, I mean, it's good that Bill Maher is going to be meeting Donald Trump. Poor Donald Trump. But you know what? We'll see if Bill Maher's tone changes after this, if his Trump derangement goes down a little bit, because, yes, Bill Maher has been one of the most Trump deranged people the last few years. I have covered many of these podcasts on his channel where he just completely is unhinged about Trump, and his guests usually have to sit there and listen to him drunkenly babble on. If you want to see any of those, I actually got a playlist on the screen that you could check out, along with a bunch more content very similar to this that I think you'll enjoy.